day. Okay, so welcome back to another interesting session. We are going to look at message mapping and what its purpose is and how we can actually do message mapping. So some definitions of message mapping. It is one of the powerful tools for communicating about issues of high concern or a situation, whether it is a crisis or a non-crisis situation. So you could have a crisis situation, but it doesn't always have to be a crisis situation. For instance, if you have finished with your research and come out with a novel trait, maize, cassava, yeah, that is a non-crisis thing, but you need to do some mapping to get it out to the public. Again, a message map is a detailed description of a hierarchical, organized answers to anticipated questions and concerns from stakeholders regarding an issue or issue, situation, crisis, or disaster. So it is not ad hoc. It is not just, cut and paste kind of thing, but you arrange it in an orderly manner, from one to the next. That kind of order is present. Also, it is a visual aid that at a glance provides a communicator with details of a hierarchical, organized set of information about an organized institute or about an organization or institution's messages related to a particular issue of high concern. Now, because of the way it's presented, when a communications person picks it up, the person immediately knows or is given an overview of what the issue is about, what you are seeking to address, the audience that the message has been prepared for, and possibly even the time that you want to deliver that message. And furthermore, it is a science-based discipline that is consistent with the way information is processed in issues of high concern and allows better response to anticipated questions and answers. So this is not, it's a brainstorming session actually, because you have to do a few things to get to the final conclusion. And when you get to the final conclusion, it prepares you. It prepares you to deal with a certain situation, so you don't find yourself all of a sudden, overwhelmed by events, but you have actually anticipated and prepared for. So you get there and you see that you are in control, you are in charge. You are not overtaken by anything that happens there. Essence of message mapping. A well-constructed message map brings focus and clarity to an issue of high concern or situation. Message maps can be used as a template for a press conference or an official statement. It allows for use of consistent messages on an issue across several media channels. So it means that with the aid of the message map, the message that you are sending out is consistent. You don't give out different information to different media channels. It's the same thing, so you have your message well tabled to the different media houses. It helps with countering rumors and myths. It enables an organization to be ahead of social media reports, which may be inaccurate and will fill an information void. By all means, there shouldn't be any void information. So if an information should be packaged for a particular audience and they don't get it, thanks to social media, they turn to social media. And like we talked yesterday and today, social media will always have something to say. And because most of the time, it is not done by professionals, that is what we run into problems. So you wouldn't want social media to outscoop you. When you have done this message mapping, you'll be able to beat that social media thing. And then it also helps to meet media needs more quickly. By the time you get to media, you are prepared, you are organized, you have your facts and your figures with you. You can easily share with the media. The goals of a message map. The goals of it enhances knowledge and understanding, even for the internal publics. That's for the staff and officials of an organization. When you do the message mapping, because it's a brainstorming session, you realize that at the end of the day, those involved, their knowledge about the issue happening that is affecting the organization is enhanced. And of course, you also understand better what is at stake. Then it helps build trust and credibility, and it encourages appropriate behavior as well as levels of concern. So, because of that one, you are able to identify the issues very well, and you are able to adapt the kind of posture that you should adapt at a certain time, because every situation and how you should conduct yourself, the message mapping will enable you to adopt the proper posture. So, you don't end up misinforming through non-verbal communication. At times, non-verbal communication speaks a lot. So, through you don't end up confusing your publics, because your mouth is saying something and your body language is also saying something. And like communication, we have learned that the impact of non-verbal communication is much more stronger than the verbal ones. And so when we do this, we'll be able to know exactly how to position ourselves. Principles of effective messages or message mapping. So the first one is you should be brief and concise. And some experts are suggesting 3-9-27. So the 3-9-27 means that you develop 3 messages of 9 words each, with a total word count of 27. So the message you are preparing should not, at most, it shouldn't go beyond 40. At most, if we want to exceed 27, it shouldn't go beyond 40, maybe even 35, because then it becomes a story on its own. This is not a story. This is a message. That's the difference. A story is detailed. This one is not that detailed, but it's concise and straight to the point. Then it should be simple, so you should avoid jargons and acronyms. Acronyms, because the moment you use acronyms, like the other day, what was I looking for? And I keyed in the words I've forgotten, and it was giving me different meanings altogether. You see, for instance, we have ADB. Okay, ADB, for the African Development Bank, there is another acronym. But if you just type ADB, in my country, you get the Agricultural Development Bank. So you wouldn't want to use acronyms, because then you will end up sending different signals to your audience. The language you use should be easily understandable by the target stakeholders. So you use short sentences and simple words. Let's avoid, when you are doing messages, let's try and avoid complex, compound sentences. Let's just use simple sentences. It helps with understanding. Then, the message should be credible and trusted. So you want to cite third-party support in supporting your messages. You want to use personal pronouns. Remember when we were doing pitching, we were talking about personalizing this one. So even in messages, you have a way of ensuring that when you are together with your audience or your stakeholders, you are able to sync with them because of your choice of words. Then it should be memorable. So you should use photos to back your facts and your sentences, charts, anecdotes to support your key messages. And this will increase recall, because the thing is that you don't want people to leave the place and forget. You want them to leave, and 3 days, 4 days, 5 weeks after, they can still remember what they learned from that encounter with you. So you should also stay positive, and make sure that you avoid negative words or negatively constructed statements. Then you should repeat your key points at least once. The initial thing, what you want the people to know, you can repeat it in a different way, not in the same words. Then it should be accurate. Use only confirmed facts and avoid promising or speculation. And that is where I believe this will sync well with our scientists. So if a process is incomplete and you want to present it, then you know how to present that. Because the moment you present some facts that are unconfirmed, and later on it comes out that, oh, the research has not been concluded yet, so then we're going to run into problems. So we want to avoid that. Then it should be timely. I think I've spoken already about that. You should be consistent. Ensure that all spokespersons use the same message maps. I think this morning we touched on that. So the need for organizations to ensure that it's not just the CEO who is talking or the communications person. You should have a list of people, identify them, train them, and prepare them to step in the gap when need be. Then you should be culturally sensitive. Beware of and sensitive to cultural differences. I remember some years ago, one of the pharmaceutical companies did an advert on vitamin supplements. And as part of it, they were talking about, like it's all the essential vitamins are included. And in their images, they had a pig. Okay. You know what pig means? Very good. It's, how do they say it? It's a taboo to Muslims and even to some cultural, some communities. And they used it, and they did the first advert. Following that, there was a serious backlash. In fact, sales dropped because the conclusion was that you are using things from the pig to produce that supplement, which was not the case. That is not what they were trying to say. But because of that image, that is exactly what happened. And so they had to withdraw the advert and go back and do it again. But I'm sure they had a tough time. Because, once a bad message goes out, it's very, very difficult, changing the message to a good one. So we need to watch out for that kind of cultural sensitivity. You go to a community, I don't know what pertains here, but in my country, when you go to the rural community, and especially to the chief's palace, if you are going for an outreach, and you go, you cannot just straight away start talking to the chief. They have a linguist, so you talk through the linguist. If you disobey those rules, you will be sacked from the palace. Then when you are talking to the elderly, myself, I like making gestures. Now, when you are talking to the elderly man in my country, you make gestures, especially with your left hand. It's deemed an insult. So at the end of the day, you are seen as a very disrespectful person. So all that you are saying, is rejected outright. So we need to, I don't know what pertains in the area here, but you need to watch out for that. Then, you should be respectful of audience concerns. Be relevant. Balance is what you must communicate with. What the audience wants to know and what the audience must get right. So it's not just about you passing on information about your concerns about an issue or a situation, but it is also to find out and to make sure that whatever you are presenting is meeting the needs and the concerns of your audience or stakeholders. Then you should commit to continued communication. Your message should be compelling, like we talked about in the morning. It should be compelling and attractive. It should grasp the attention of anybody who comes across it. And then encourage action with meaningful information that encourages a response. So you want a response at the end of the day. So whatever message you are crafting should also have an element of that CTA in it, so that people can be called to action and do something about it. Now we want to look at the steps in message mapping. So we have a phase one. I have structured it that way. So the phase one, first of all, is to identify which issues of high concern that your organization wants to address. That is the objective, the goal. So you must have a reason. So you need to sit down and identify that. Then you should prioritize those issues after you've identified them and assemble a small message mapping team. Small. Because we don't need, you see, if it's too big, then you are going to run, you will never finish what you are doing, but small and very specific. So you have an expert on the subject. Depending on what the issue is, there should be an expert on the subject. If your organization has that expert, that is fine. There should be the communication person, because that person at the end of the day is the one who is going to handle the dissemination and whatnot, and even help with the crafting. Then there should be a management representative, because this person is the one going to talk to policy issues that has to do with whatever it is that you are working on. And then it is normally very good that even this team is put in place, because they will come out with that brainstorming session to identify the issue of concern. Or else you can also do that by bringing some of your staff together from the different sessions to brainstorm on what the issue is and what needs to be done before you put in this team. Now, when it comes to the phase 2, you identify your target stakeholders. Obviously, your message is targeting a certain group of people. You want to identify them. You also want to identify the stakeholder questions or concerns. Like I said previously, it's not just about addressing your concerns, but it is also ensuring that what you are addressing is helping to meet the needs of the people. Then develop the key messages and responses to these questions or concerns. So once you have identified the stakeholders, sometimes some of the stakeholders may merge depending on their media uses and their attitudes and whatnot. So you can combine and have a common message for maybe 2 or 3 categories of stakeholders. So at the end of the day, you may not have too many messages. But then when you are done with the messages, you should also develop supporting information for each of the key messages. So message 1, stop eating bushmeat. You guys have bushmeat here, right? No. So for us, there was a time when a campaign had to be mounted against bushmeat consumption. Actually, it wasn't all the bushmeat. It wasn't all the animal species, but they were targeting certain species that were endangered. So it came out that that's the anti-bushmeat campaign. It wasn't, I don't even know, come to think of it, whether that message was right at that time. Because it wasn't that people should stop eating bushmeat, but we wanted to eliminate endangered species out of the bushmeat trade. Okay. And once you've done that, you can conduct a test of the messages. So once again, you can bring those people that you brought earlier together in your internal, amongst your internal audience, but you can also bring some trusted external audience to be part of that process. Then you go through with them. If they have to change the messages, they will help you do that. And then you plan for delivery, how you are going to get that message out, whether you are going to do it through a press conference, whether you are going to do it through a special press briefing with maybe a few selected media houses and journalists, whether you want to go to a media house, whether you want to do a story and send, you have to plan that. And so what I'm saying that we should note is that media maps can be presented in the form of either a diagram or a table, depending on which is your preference. For me, I prefer a table, but you can also do a diagram, a chart with it, depending on how you want it to look like. And then I think I am done.